Aloha, I'm Lyla Berg, and we're here at the Pearl Harbor Aviation Museum, ready to meet the people who are making a difference in our lives. Thank you for tuning in to Island Focus. So where are we here?
This is an interactive 4,000 square foot gallery that has a number of different interactive challenges that will help students and families and visitors experience all the principles of flight, as well as the history of aviation.
So we have flight, but we also have spaceships. Who puts this together?
And this was designed by the Boeing company with a number of educators around the country, and it was part of their celebration of their 100th anniversary of flight. And so that's why the history is as much a part of the exhibit as all of the things that the students are going to experience that is about the future of aviation.
So I take it that this is not just about flying, it's also about engineering and technology.
Exactly. This whole exhibit across from you is how ideas form and how individuals start with an idea and they take it all the way through to the culmination of a design.
And I imagine when families are doing this together, it's fun, but it also builds that connectivity.
Exactly, they're learning together. There's nothing more powerful than learning together and experiencing the lesson. They can experience aviation together, so it's the history of flight, it's the principles of flight, and it's the future of flight, because these young people, especially, we're trying to get them fired up in all the math, science, technology, the STEM courses, and we're trying to provide them an understanding that it's by the choices they make that they can move into any one of these careers.
Fabulous.
It's just really very cool.
So this particular exhibit about Spread Your Wings is to help the viewer, I guess, understand what it feels like to fly.
Exactly. I mean, when you think about what does a wing do on a plane, this is going to teach you that. So it's all the ways that you control and you manage flight. And so once we show kids this and they experience this, they can go over to the other interactive and they can build a plane with what they've learned.
Let's try it.
Great. All right.
I'll be the yellow
Pick a
duck.
spot, and it will tell us. It's going to give us instruction.
Whoa! I'm here with Elissa who's the Executive Director of the Pearl Harbor Aviation Museum. Glad you could be with us. What an amazing place you've created here, you and your team.
It's a privilege to work here. I think we all feel that. We know we're standing in the middle of history, and we have an important opportunity to speak to all generations about that history and use it to inspire what we hope will be a very positive future.
So could you talk a little bit more about that inspiration that you envision?
Well, history is a very important part of setting the foundation for all of the things that we do. The history that came out of World War II was really a message of peace and hope and inspiration, global friendship. And as you look to the past and you now look at where we're going with the 75th anniversary, the commemoration of the end of World War II, we have a chance to say, here are the stories of our past, and here are the outcomes that we could think about to change history going forward.
So there really is a look toward what's possible in peace as we look at what has happened in the past.
I think it's all of our responsibility to share with the next generation that there are alternate solutions to conflict. We have to teach that kind of connectivity with our young people and that kind of conscientious leadership that I believe comes from knowing the past and knowing what other decisions created. I mean, war is horrific, and I think when you talk with our veterans, they will tell you that. And the message that comes out of that conversation with our veterans and with the tours that we give on all of these aircraft, it's that there could have been another approach to solving crisis, and it's our responsibility to find that.
And I think what's probably particularly moving but also telling is that this is the only place on American soil where war was experienced.
Exactly. This is the only American World War II battlefield, and it's not just Pearl Harbor, it's really all of Oahu. There's a very interesting history in terms of all of the attack points on history and all of the places around Hawaii where we can bring forward the stories of how our military and civilian populations work together to preserve peace, to support the defense of freedom. This is an important heritage that is really only found here in Hawaii. You can also really see here the opportunity of former enemies working together to build upon that peace and that lasting friendship that leads to a brighter future.
It's very hopeful, isn't it?
It is.
Is your background in history or in sociology, or because you have such passion for this?
It's not. I have spent about 30 years in aviation museums around the country. And this one is very different because it is not an aviation museum. I think when I came here, the thought was I was bringing a lot of knowledge about the aviation museum industry. But what I find here is it is not about the planes. The planes are a conduit for sharing story about individuals, about people. And it is through the telling of story that we can help bring the generations together. People come to Pearl Harbor almost as part of a pilgrimage. I mean, they come in generations, and many times it's the visit to this site that prompts a veteran or someone who lived through that horrible time to share stories with the next generation. I didn't know my father was involved in the battles of Midway and Guadalcanal. I knew he was a World War II veteran, and I knew he was a Marine, but he had daughters. He didn't talk about all of that involvement. And when I was moving here and put all of my things together that I was going to bring with me, I had my father's discharge papers that I had kept when he passed away.
Wow.
And I read through that for the first time. And he was in the battles of Guadalcanal and Midway. And so how appropriate that I'm here looking at using these tools. There's an SPD right over there that's about the Battle of Midway. So I think this place promotes thinking, it promotes understanding, it promotes reverence and tribute, and it gives us an opportunity to say to young people, what happens tomorrow is in your hands. Let's prepare you.
Well, you've certainly ignited interest in our viewing audience, and thank you for sharing your passion. We'll look forward to doing a little bit more investigation when we do the walk and talk.
Great.
We've just had the pleasure of speaking with Elissa Lyons, who's the Executive Director for the Pearl Harbor Aviation Museum. Aloha. Aloha, I'm here today at the Pearl Harbor Aviation Museum with Chang, who is with the Office of Aerospace Development here in Hawaii. Mahalo. Aerospace Development with the Department of Economic Development.
Yes.
That's a bit of a mouthful, but what does it mean to us here in Hawaii?
Diversified economy in that we have, aerospace activities here in the state, and it's more than tourism, more than construction, more than military. Aerospace, for us, it includes space activities as well as aviation, robotics, drones. So a lot of economic opportunities here in the state.
And when we speak of economic opportunities, that's business development, having
Yes.
businesses, foundations come here, different organizations. So this museum must be just right up your alley.
Yes, this is a perfect backdrop to have this discussion. Before we had the space shuttles, we had the planes. Aviation still is a big part of a lot of aerospace companies. So the Boeings, Lockheed Martins, they work on space assets and activities, but also they work a lot on aviation as well.
It's a little bit far out for us to think about aerospace being a professional field here in Hawaii because we're so small. But there are career opportunities actually here for kids
Yes, absolutely.
as they go into the university system
Yes.
and then leave. Is that part of the vision of DBED?
That is the vision, creating an ecosystem from STEM education to workforce development to having high-paying careers here in the state, as well as trying to bring back some of the kids that have left to get education or experience? How do we bring them back to the state with those career opportunities? And aerospace, not just in developing spacecrafts or space assets, there are a lot of analytical work, a lot of support functions, such as electricians, carpentry, construction, things of that sort. So we focus a lot on that also, besides being, aerospace engineer.
Yeah, sometimes we don't think about the peripheral careers that go into even making a plane and designing it. What is your greatest hope, vision, dream, I guess, in this area?
Creating an ecosystem here in the state, building the be able to build competencies here in the state, for our kids so that they can have a career. That means STEM education, workforce development with good internship opportunities, working with existing businesses, forming partnerships to be able to support that. And at the end, having a good, high-paying career here in the state. I do have to say that I do have a personal stake in this matter. I have two kids. One is in high school, one is in middle school. They will be going to college and entering the workforce in the next decade. My son has already announced that he wants to go experience the world, go to the mainland for college. So the wrinkle to creating our ecosystem is, how do we bring these kids back, after they've gone out and experienced the world? So that means creating the opportunity for them so that they can come back.
And I even see a peripheral field in artistry. We need designers.
Yes, absolutely.
And we need PR people, and we need those who have the same dream as you do.
Yes.
So
it's important, to promote not just these careers, but allow the kids to understand that there are steps to getting to that point. Good education.
And there's a place for them here in Hawaii.
Yes, and
we welcome them.
Yes, and that's where we want to get to. That
Great.
there's a place for them here.
Thank you so much for joining us, and we'll hold on to your vision as well.
Thank you.
You just had an opportunity to meet Chang, who is with the Office of Aerospace Development with DBED here in Hawaii. Mahalo. Mahalo for tuning in to Island Focus and joining me in meeting John Rand, who is the Director of STEM Education for the University of Hawaii System. Aloha. STEM education.
Yeah, STEM has really been the biggest area of proliferation we've seen at the university.
So help us understand what that means from the university perspective. We know from the high schools that it's been a focus over many years to have children, young people get into robotics and computer science. But from the university perspective?
STEM, as you know, is science, technology, engineering, and math. So it's way more than a lot of the design projects and things that you do in the K-12 system. There are a number of different majors at the university. We would probably take the next 5 minutes talking about all of those. But everywhere from engineering, we have a College of Engineering. We have a School of Ocean, Earth Science, and Technology, which does oceanography. They do marine biology. We have those types of programs. We have agriculture and aquaponics. We have computer science programs and information technology systems and creative design labs in animation, for example. All of these things sort of fall under what we would consider to be a STEM program.
So is this a new reorganization or an organization of the courses at the university? And it includes the community colleges as well.
Yeah, so in my role at the university, we work with all 10 campuses. What we're trying to do is to be very good about making the transitions that we have between high school and college, between the 2-year colleges and the 4-year colleges, as well as from undergraduate to graduate and into the workforce. We want to try to make those transitions as seamless as possible for students, particularly in STEM fields. Although we've been quite successful, and I think other areas within the university are picking up on that as well. But that's been probably the primary thrust of the office that I work on, is really focused on building these pathways and making sure that the articulation for students is as seamless as possible.
So this might be a redundant question to ask you what the challenges are. I think you just mentioned not only communication, but also it's a very large system, the university, and the Department of Education, as an example, is also one system. How do you navigate that?
We are always mindful of the preparation that students undergo in the K-12 system. Of course, a lot of the university folks, particularly in the STEM fields, want more math and science taught in the K-12, but I think that together we work on various programs. You mentioned robotics as one. There are many other drone programs. There are the FIRST robotics and Lego series that these students can participate in.
But
There's
I love what you said about aquaponics and also
so there's a lot of other
ocean.
very other different types of programs that you could be a part of. I mean, the University of Hawaii has a lot of resources available to students for things like working in the Ōahu areas, in the fish ponds, working in aquaponics. These types of programs are some of the best in the world, and they're right here in Hawaii.
So what might a young person do if they're undecided about a career field or a content area, and they really don't want to leave Hawaii to go to a mainland college? What would they do?
I'm a little biased because I spent some time in our community college system here, and it's extremely strong in Hawaii. We have 7 community colleges, and if you aren't exactly sure what you want to do, hopefully it's a STEM field. But if it isn't, still, I would probably certainly talk to my local community college. It's a great way to start. We're a very unique system in the country, in Hawaii, because we're sort of the only game in town. That's not quite true, but we, at least from our community college system, have been able to articulate our courses extremely well, so that if you start at the 2-year college and you have some success there, you can move right into the 4-year degree.
Great. Well, thank you so much for enlightening us, and good luck to you on all this.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. You just had the opportunity to meet John Rand, who is the Director of STEM Education for the UH system in Hawaii. Mahalo for joining us. Where are we here? This huge, beautiful old building, I assume.
It is. It's a working hangar. And during the 1940s, this was an operational hangar for aircraft maintenance and restoration and assembly. And so that's why it's so cavernous. You have 86,000 square feet, no pillars. This is where the activity happened.
And all of these planes depict history, obviously.
They do, and we are progressing. So we start with World War II, and we move through aviation history and the advancement of technology through Korea and Vietnam, the jet age. So you see the difference in the growth of aviation.
So when you talk also about learning more about aviation, what is the museum doing?
We're hoping to set a foundation for young people to understand that there are tremendous career opportunities, of course, in the aviation and aerospace field, and many, many jobs right here in the Hawaii community that are open to them.
So in addition to understanding about history here and seeing the progression of aviation and the careers in aviation, it's about the peripheral careers associated with aviation.
Exactly. So you don't have to be a pilot. There's mechanics, there's engineers, there's designers, there's space. There's a number of different careers, and that was really the reason behind our development of the Aviation Learning Center. Our thought is that kids come here because aviation is a natural draw, but there are many things that we can teach them through that experience that will open the doors to their future.
Fabulous. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
We're here at the Pearl Harbor Aviation Museum with Cindy Koval, who is the Assistant Superintendent for Talent Management with the Hawaii Department of Education. Glad you could be with us. This is kind of a homecoming for you, isn't it, being here at this museum?
It is. I started my Navy career here in the 80s, so it is.
So, if I may be so bold, Rear Admiral, now with the Department of Education, what is the segue between your professional career and being Director of Talent Management?
So most of my career in the Navy was spent doing human resources and adult education. So we take sailors out of high school and train them and help get their education and help them have a successful Navy career. And so when I retired from the Navy, it was a natural transition to enter the Department of Education in a similar manner.
Well, we're very blessed to have you in the department with that kind of experience. So what is the focus now for you? And the name has changed, I think, from personnel or human relations.
We changed the name about 3 years ago now to the Office of Talent Management. And changing the name was really a mindset shift. We have so many talented teachers and educators, and we wanted to make sure as the human resources experts that we treated the talent when we recruit, when we develop, and we retain, to maintain a level of support to all of the educators out there for the talent that they bring.
I love that concept that we're building and honoring talent. So what are the main focuses now of your work there?
So we have about 22,000 employees every day and an additional 20,000 that are part-time. So the main focus is teachers for us this year and getting the right skilled teachers into the right place to fill all the teacher vacancies so that students have a role model in front of them throughout the state.
There will never be a dispute how important teachers are. What are their challenges for us here in Hawaii, besides the fact that many of our students are encouraged to go to the continent for college?
So we would really love to, we call it grow our own. So we want local capacity in our teachers and on our educators, our administrators. So we really want to encourage students here in Hawaii to think about becoming a teacher. We have some of our high schools with teacher pathway academies, and I'll bring up Waipahu for an example. They have a great teacher academy going, and these are going to UH Manoa to become teachers after they graduate this year. There's 23 students in that program. So really just getting the young folks in Hawaii to understand that they can stay here and have a viable career in education and in other workforce segments. There's lots here for the kids.
Becoming a teacher is actually an entry point in the Department of Education. There's so many other roles that one can have there.
Absolutely, and that's what some of these teacher cadets in the high schools are saying, that they thought it was just classroom teaching, but actually you could start out as a classroom teacher, you can become a lot of other things in education, curriculum development, principal of the school, complex superintendent. So there's many roles that support education after or in addition to teaching.
When I came back from college, I started teaching, and I didn't know that it could be a career. So I appreciate you sharing the possibilities. So how might we help?
Well, there are several pathways into teaching in Hawaii, and so I would say go to the Department of Ed's website and check that out. What we're finding is a lot of people are second and third careers now, or starting teaching after their initial career, and they're great teachers. So if there's any interest in it, regardless of what level you are or where you are in your career, we'd love to have you think about joining the department's workforce and bring that talent in front of our keiki.
When I was teaching at the College of Ed, in education, and trying to encourage young people to love teaching. Not everyone loves being with kids, and I think that's probably one of the first criteria that you ask as well.
It is, and the principals do most of the interviews of the teachers that are going to work at their school, and they're looking for both intelligence in the content area, but more so than that, the passion and the love for the children.
And it's a very creative career.
It is.
Well, thank you very much for joining us today, and I really appreciate you sharing the mindset change for the department, that we're looking for talent and honoring talent.
Thank you so much for having us.
Yeah, thank you so much. Thank you for tuning in to Island Focus and joining me in the conversation with Cindy Koval, who is the Assistant Superintendent for Talent Management with the Department of Education here in Hawaii. Mahalo. Mahalo to the Pearl Harbor Aviation Museum for hosting us today, and to you for tuning in to Island Focus. I'm Lyla Berg. Aloha and malama pono. Take care of each other. See you soon.